Hi everyone, welcome to the From Data to Value vlog with Henrik. We are starting up a new year, but we are continuing the vlog. This vlog, for all the newcomers, is about creating an operational vision, what it means to be data and AI ready. Really trying to demystify this topic for middle managers to understand, how do I drive this journey, what do I need to work on? Last year, we worked on the map of the core capabilities on a quite high level, just to lay out the map. Now we're continuing with deep dives in different topics to go deeper on the different key building blocks. Today I want to talk about the capability around innovation and how to think about innovating when it comes to data and AI. And to dig into this topic, I want to structure this so we have a strategic discussion first. What are the main things how innovating with data and AI, what is really changing the way you need to operate and organize, and why that is, so that becomes clear. And then we come to a tactical level where we talk about your options in terms of how we drive improvements or how we drive innovation. And then ultimately we'll talk a little bit on a more the operational level. When we're dealing with data, when we're dealing with AI, there are some fundamentals in terms of operating data and AI that makes you accelerate in innovation or not. So let's start on the strategic level. So strategic level, I have two key words to you that I want you to start thinking about. And I use the word perpetual innovation, or even lean perpetual innovation, and I use the word intersectional innovation. So I want to explore these two concepts because they have quite a big impact on how to innovate and how to organize. So if I start with perpetual innovation, what I'm trying to say, and what should be clear if you followed the vlog so far, is that the way everything is changing right now, the way the technology is advancing, the way we manage data, how much data we can manage, what types of algorithms we can use, and how we are more and more making this easier for normal people to use these simplifying how to use these very, very fancy algorithms. It really means that the way it's going to go, if we truly believe this is a paradigm shift, as we've been talking about, to become a data and AI first society, it's going to be an incremental process. It's going to be more and more data coming in, more and more analytics coming into our core processes. So if you take a step and think about that, it really means that your process, the way it looks like right now, will never stand still again, or not for the next 5 or 10 years. So your core processes will be under constant pressure to move, to incorporate more data and analytics into it. So how should I look at that? Well, what I propose is that instead of talking about projects or talking about transformation projects on the side, it's more about building in the innovation into the core process. And what I mean with that is that traditionally, if you have worked with simplifying your processes, slimming them down, making them more lean, you come to a very hard standard process that is almost rigid. Maybe that is still the valid point if we work in ERP, in core workflows and stuff like that. But when it comes to making your processes more data and AI driven, you need to think like you have an onboarding and innovation part of your process that is sort of bringing in new ideas, testing them, putting them into production, reshuffling the way the operational, or the maintenance or the normal process is done, and also having a thinking about how you're closing down the old way of working, or how you're removing things, decommissioning things. So you go from a static view of a process to a life cycle view of a process. So think almost like your process as your product. So this is perpetual innovation. So how do I set up a core process so it has the ability to innovate itself? It has profound implications on, that we need to have different people there. We need to have redundancy, so we don't only have people that are sort of single points of failures to do the operational work. You need to constantly have people to work on innovating the process. And if you do it in a project somewhere else, you're not going to have the domain expertise enough to really be close to it. So this is about perpetual innovation. The second topic I want to talk about on this strategic level is that what we are dealing with here is ultimately intersectional innovation. So if you start to really understand what the topic so far in the vlog has been all about, it sort of shows when we talk about the implications of AI that you need to have very strong domain expertise, cross-spread or together with this data science expertise, who can make the models, who can make the algorithms, together with the people who can make this sort of data engineering, build the data pipelines, make sure that you're feeding data. And then, of course, somewhere here, the information steward, the person who can make sure you have the right quality data. If you don't have pristine data, if you don't have the pipelines, if you don't know how to model, and if you don't have the domain expertise on what you're modeling, you can't do this. Now, the challenge now is that because we're talking about models, and we're talking about automating decisions in the end, we come to this core team is actually needing to work really closely together, like the domain experts together with the data scientists and the data engineers. The traditional Tayloristic view where we have separated, the process people here and the IT people here to build efficiency, it doesn't really work. So even if we have our disciplines that we have this ultimately need for a cross-functional team simply because we are cross-pollinating between two different domains. Like your legacy domain, whatever that is that you're in, if you're into marketing or sales, or if you're into finance or banking, services, manufacturing, you are cross-pollinating that with data and AI. And this becomes really, really important to wrap your head around, because if you don't have the data literacy and AI literacy with the domain people, they are not going to understand how they can, improve their process. And if you have data science people who have not the deep understanding of the data sets and the business problem, they're not going to be able to build it sharply. So because we're dealing with intersectional innovation ultimately, that's why we're sort of moving more into these cross-functional team setups. So agile, great, but it's more about getting these people to work on a daily basis in a good way. It can all be organized in different ways, but ultimately you need to have this core team with these different competences working as a core team. So this was the strategic implication, that it's really fundamentally shifting on how we view process and how we view organization. On a tactical level, so when we now go about and want to innovate, what are our options? So there are some big fundamental alternatives when we're innovating. And I'm going to talk about two major ones. So one part is to look at this like we're doing this, we are reinventing our core process. So we are trying to stepwise make the core process something else. So we are reinventing it by cross-pollinating it. And we are trying to find the smaller incremental improvements. So if I want to automate and put robotics into a process, I start structuring and going for tasks that I can work with. If I want to have more analytics in it, I start somewhere and I go further and further. So this is working with change and working with innovation from within. Yeah, it's the most suitable in some cases. The other major option is when you really want to do this moonshot approach, this disruptive approach that you really want to sort of, start from a white piece of paper. But that approach is very, very, very hard to do from within an existing organization. So disrupting yourself is extremely hard because you have, it goes against your steering, it goes against your, what you have built up, it goes against, killing your darlings, it's all this. So this disruption is almost like you need to set up a different company, or you become disrupted by someone else that can do it better. So I want you to think on this tactical level, what is the way that works for my company? Do I go, reinventing my business model, or do I go disruptive? In some cases, you can only go reinventive. So if I take the example of, that you're working in manufacturing, or you have a physical value chain of some kind, you're not going to get rid of it. You're still managing that asset, that production plant. So then your innovation needs to still be able to run the power plant. So we talk about digital twins and different ways of how you can innovate and totally reinvent the process. but the physical process is not going away. You need to merge, you need to cross-pollinate the people who can run a power plant with the people who can do data. In some cases, you can do a complete digital process. You can reinvent a business model and do it completely digital. You know, like the Ubers, the Airbnbs, where they literally disrupted the whole industry by building a data or a data-driven process and becoming the platform. So disruptive versus reinventing, but still intersectional innovation at its core. Now when we go from a tactical view down to a more operational view, there are two key things that really helps you accelerate this innovation topic, how you innovate. So the first capability when you innovate with data is the fundamental ability to translate your business problem into your algorithm problem, into your AI problem. So if you don't have the working approach or the competences, the data scientist, as I told you, the domain expert, the data engineer, to work together to understand the business problem, to be able to translate that to what algorithm would be the most suitable. Is this machine learning? Is this deep learning neural network type problem? What type of neural network do we need to build? What type of problem it is? You haven't even started because you haven't even been able to translate your business problem into a problem you can innovate with data and AI. So this translation capability is very, very important. Then the second topic. Now, if you want to move really fast and innovate, you really need to have access to high quality, groomed and maintained data. You need to have your assets. So this is in a way what makes Google and these companies now really running, yeah? Alibaba, all of these. They have done the heavy lifting. They have sorted out their data. They have structured it. They have made it into assets. They have cataloged it. So basically, for Google to do some of this work, it's more like Lego. They can combine things they've done in the past. So a big story here is actually that you need to get started building and working, actually, maybe not to have AI the first day, but it actually forces you to get your data in order to do it. You can't do algorithmic business, you can't do AI without pristine data. That is a fundament. So strategic level, lean perpetual innovation we talked about, intersectional innovation we talked about. Tactical view, do I think about how I reinvent, how I build on my business model I have, or do I disrupt? Operational view, do I have the fundamentals, capability to translate business problem into data and AI problem? And how is my data in order? And do I have the platforms to get data? When you have those things, and when you work on all these things, those are the things that will make you accelerate. So you get it right on a strategic level, you get it right on a tactical level, you get it right on an operational level. Now we can start really accelerate, and we can talk about what data innovation is all about. Okay, that was a deep dive on innovation. Like always, give me comments, give me feedback. I want to demystify. If something is unclear, ask me a question. Engage. So, until the next time, have a nice one.